Dr. Cheryl, and welcome to Wake Up with Dr. Cheryl. Wealth Transformation. Our show is raising the awareness and consciousness in the relationship with wealth and unconditional love. Always remember that your present situation is not your final destination. The best is yet to come by Zig Ziglar. Our show this evening is about the wealth of preserving the bees and GMO awareness with Ginger Souders-Mason. Ginger has been a resident of Marin County since 1972. When Ginger's daughter was only 18 months old, she graduated from the Environmental Forum of Marin Training Program. She later served 3 years as a president. It was during a term and also on a term at the Health Council of Marin and concurrently on the board of Marin Breast Cancer Watch that Marin Beyond Pesticides Coalition was born to fight for an IPM program at the county. The coalition morphed into the Pesticide Free Zone project, the Ladybug Signs, which today is a 501c3 organization. Ginger was also involved in the formation and success of the GMO-free Marin ballot measure. She also produces a weekly show on CMCM TV, GMO education, and several specials. Ginger is a retired medical technologist, has been married to Steve Mason for 43 years, and has 2 adult children. Ginger also is a wonderful crew and director for my show. Welcome, Ginger. Oh my gosh. You know, this is very special because, well, for one, you're a wonderful friend and you help out and you have so much that you can share about GMOs and these wonderful pesticide, your bees, bees please. So, you know, can you give a little history about the GMO so, you know, I can learn more and then the viewers can understand where this is coming from?
Sure. If it hadn't been for the Supreme Court in the Diamond v. Chakrabarty, where he had designed a bacteria that would eat oil as a metabolite, you know, he would consume oil. And that was the first time life had been patented. And before that time, life was not to be patented or patentable.
And when was that?
That was in the, well, it was 72 when his patent was filed.
Oh, okay.
And he was able to get it issued in 81.
Wow, that's fairly recent, really.
Yeah, it is. And if it hadn't been for that particular Supreme Court ruling and the fact that you can patent life, we wouldn't be in the fix we're in today with our food supply.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's the very beginning?
That was the very beginning of the patenting and where they could make money off of food. And as Monsanto's goal was, and still is, I'm assuming.
Now, is that Monsanto then?
No, he wasn't with Monsanto.
Oh, okay.
But the whole idea was once they saw this was going on, that they could patent and do seeds and patent seed and life, that they could make money off of it. And so their whole idea was they were going to control the seeds of the world. And this
so
is...
how are they making money? I mean, I'm probably asking a very simple question, but how are they making money off of this?
Well, they do it in many different ways, actually. First of all, the reason they needed to patent the seeds and make it glyphosate or Roundup, the glyphosate being the biggest one, susceptible or I'm not saying the words properly here. The reason why they needed to make these seeds so they were Roundup ready. In other words, they were triggered and they could kill the weeds around the plant and the plants would then thrive and go on and continue to develop. was that they were running out of their patent on glyphosate was running out.
And glyphosate is
Roundup.
Roundup,
Yeah.
okay.
And there are so many glyphosate herbicide tolerant seeds now that you wouldn't know it. At that time, there was no such thing. And so when they developed the first seeds that were GMO ready, or GMO seeds that were Roundup ready, they required that they use only their patented glyphosate on the seeds.
So basically
So they made money on the seeds, and then
because the pesticides were they were immune to the pesticides.
they wouldn't kill like
Okay.
normally an herbicide would kill all the plants that were there.
Yeah.
But these plants had a gene inserted into them that would allow them to grow when the herbicide was even sprayed on them.
But they didn't know what the genetically modified was doing to human beings.
Well, they didn't care.
They just didn't care.
No,
because
they wanted to
of
make money.
Yeah.
Okay, so they make money off the seeds, and then they make money off selling the Roundup, and then because it's patented, they have to buy a license to use that seed, and that seed is only good for one generation, one growing season. In other words, normally farmer will collect his seeds and use them the next year. Not with GMO.
Oh,
you
wow.
have to buy the seeds every year.
So it's feeding into having to buy, and there again, money.
Right. And then the third one is the way they make maybe it's the fourth time they make money, is if, for instance, that gene transfers to a neighbor's property in some way through the air.
You mean from the seed?
From the seed, from the pollen.
Or okay.
Or if, for instance, the seed grows another year and it happens to be, like in the case of Percy Smizer up in Canada, the wind blew off some of the seeds and it landed in his ditch along his field. So what the police do, the Monsanto police, they come in and they test the growth of the plants in that particular area, and they say, oh, you are growing our seeds, and I don't see that you have a license to grow them.
Oh my God.
So they sue the farmers. And that was another way they're making big bucks off these farmers.
That's horrible.
Well, it is. And not only that, what was happening in a lot of places is they would give a leather jacket to any farmer who squealed on his neighbor who might be saving his seeds and planting them a second time, or might be growing by accident GMO plants.
Are these farmers ignorant?
No, but they liked jackets too, you know. I mean, it was free for what they could get. So they're getting a lot of funds from these different ways, through the seeds, the chemicals.
Monsanto is,
right. Yeah. So, you know, it's a sad situation, because what they were doing actually is they are pitting farmer against farmer in some of these communities, and we know that farmers need each other to really make it in a farming life.
Of course, they've got to have that brother-sisterhood.
Right. And this is breaking apart the fabric of the farmers.
Well, the control of the wealthy, you know.
Well, in India, when the farmers couldn't afford it, they, as Vandana Shiv was telling us all, there are so many that have committed suicide,
Right.
actually drinking glyphosate.
Yeah.
I mean, a tragic death.
Oh, I know. Jolie mentioned that too.
Mm-hmm.
It's horrible.
No, it is tragic. But part of the reason why they were patentable, and two, is they got their patent under two assumptions. One assumption was that it's different. You know, we've created this life. We created something that's different. It has inserted a gene into it that's different. But the second part they have, but it's substantially equivalent to regular food, so we don't need any more testing. So you've got a dichotomy here that has never been addressed, and probably never will be, considering what's going on in Washington. But it was It was under the Reagan administration that Dan Quayle, and they brought in a fellow by the name of Michael Taylor. And Michael Taylor was an attorney who worked for Monsanto. So what they did is they brought him in, and he was the food safety czar, and he worked on the process of taking this newfound food product and saying, oh, it's substantially equivalent. And as soon as that process was over with and it was substantially...
So did he lie?
Oh, well, we don't talk about that kind of thing.
I mean,
this was not a scientific proclamation. This was a political proclamation. The scientists, as we found out later through Freedom of Information Act, the scientists at FDA and EPA and all were saying, no, no, no. These could cause allergic reactions. These could cause all kinds of problems. We don't know. They need to be tested.
Yeah. So why haven't they stopped? Why hasn't the government stopped this?
It's money. We need exports.
Here we go.
It's
back
export.
to wealth transformation. It's all part of this. So what my redeeming question here is one of them anyway is what is the result of GMOs on human beings?
Well, one of the first GMOs that was done actually was a supplement, tryptophan, L-tryptophan,
wow,
which people take
amino acid.
Yeah. And there was one company in Japan, Shandanko, who Schwandanko, can't remember how to say it. Anyhow, what they did, it was in 1984, and they did a GMO on a yeast to produce tryptophan.
Wow.
Okay. Well, they kept adding new genes into this cultivar that they had that was making the tryptophan, and it looked okay and everything, but all of a sudden in the U.S., there were people who were getting all kinds of I don't know what the muscle pains.
Oh, okay.
There were breathing problems. I mean, it was a bizarre set of reactions. They had no clue of what was causing it. The eosinophil count, and these are white blood cells that have little red dots in them that are filled with histamine and stuff. But they call it eosinophilic Malaysia syndrome. That's what they called it. And
this was from the tryptophan.
Well, they didn't know at the time.
Oh, okay.
They didn't know at the time. So what was happening is these people had these very strange reactions, and they finally traced it back. There were 100 people that died.
Wow.
And
what did they die from? Do you know?
It was an allergic reaction, actually. But the muscles would stiffen up, the skin would tighten up.
Wow.
It was a strange set of it. They'd never seen anything like this before. And it came on suddenly to a person in most cases.
Was this like after 81?
Let's see, this was in 84.
84.
It was between, it was after 81.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so
Did they take it off the market? I mean...
Well, it took a while for them to figure out where it was coming from, and they finally traced it back. Everyone who was ill...
The FDA?
Yeah. Everyone who was ill went back to this one company and to this one product, the L-tryptophan.
Wow.
Yeah. So with 100 people dead and 10 to 15,000 people remained ill and still had problems afterwards. I mean, some of them were debilitated and have yet to recover, apparently, from what I've read.
Gee whiz, that's serious.
It is serious. So that cultivar, before they could do any testing, was destroyed by the company.
Monsanto destroyed it.
Well, no, this was Shandanko, the
Oh,
Japanese
oh,
company.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when you say, well, you know, they didn't do any testing, they thought they had a clean product. It looked okay by all other measures, but there was some kind of allergic response in that particular product. So, you know, when somebody says, well, there's never been a problem, well, that was traceable. That's the thing. That was traceable because it was one product.
Right.
But now what we have a whole generation of people that have been eating corn, soy, canola, and even cotton oil, cottonseed oil, that is not traceable because it's in the food supply. And it's in the meat supply and the milk supply.
Well, how come they can't trace it in those?
Because nothing is labeled.
But I thought now that GMO has to be labeled on all foods. Oh no.
Well, let's put it this way. There is a DARK Act that was passed, it was last year, just in time to extinguish the work of the people in Vermont from triggering the labeling of foods. Just, you know, July 1st, I think, was the deadline, and they would have had to label because of the number of people that would be involved. So they didn't, they passed the DARK Act, but it doesn't require, you know, there's little funny things that Skittles with, you can take your smartphones and run across and it'll tell you something or whatever.
Yeah. Well,
not everybody has a smartphone, but apparently they can use that as a label that will go back to something.
Right.
So
right.
In reality, there is no labeling.
Oh my.
That's going to happen.
I mean, because that's the first thing I look for, is that GMO free.
Right.
You know, when I'm buying products.
Well, that is a private labeling system.
Oh, so it's not a federally mandated.
Federally mandated. The federally mandated program will be using those little square things that have funny markings in them.
Yeah. So why aren't they implementing that?
Well, they have to work on their labels and stuff. I mean, it's so slow.
I mean, it is going to happen eventually?
Well, yes, but it won't be something that somebody can just pick up and read the GMO stuff on there. No, it's not going to make it easier. No, they made it so it's obscured. That's the thing. But
is that because Monsanto and the government are working together?
Oh, sure.
I mean,
oh yeah. Michael Taylor went back to Monsanto as a vice president. Then he came back to the government. He went back to the revolving door. And you know, he was under food safety under Obama, which was a joke. So that's the kind of, there are many other people who've done the same thing, back and forth, back and forth.
I'm just totally blown away on how corrupt things are in our government and our society. Yeah. I am just getting, you know, the more I learn. Anyway.
And there are so many good scientists there who want to do the right thing.
Right, I'm sure.
But they end up being thwarted and not being able to, it's like the gag orders that
because of the money.
Put up.
Because of money.
It's money, that's all it is.
You know, this is going to be the death of our society. Mm-hmm. That's why I have my show. Wake up.
Calm down. It's okay.
No, I know.
But the one thing, though, what's interesting is that people are beginning to say, wait a minute, we do have a problem here. And it was, what's her name? I have some reports here. Which one is it? Yeah, Nancy Swanson, who's a researcher in Southern California, or she was at the time. She took information from the federal government, because they do measure things like disease things. So she took all that. She also looked at the amount of glyphosate being used on crops and everything. And she started putting it all together. And bless her heart, she began to put together a picture that we should all be concerned about.
No.
Yes, yes. In her paper, which was published on, what was the regular date on this? Oh,
So
in,
what?
2014 it was when
Oh,
she published
okay.
this.
Okay. So that's not that long ago.
No, this is
So
pretty
what
recent.
picture are you talking about?
Which picture? Well, I'm talking about, whoops, there goes my pencil.
You mean,
These are, actually what these are, this is a graph of the use of glyphosate on the different crops,
okay,
okay? And if you can see how it's going
gone up.
Gone up, right. Let me get my
So
pencil.
don't the farmers get this?
Oh, I have a friend in Kansas who grows corn,
Oh, okay.
GMO corn,
Oh,
and I tried to warn them, and I sent them Jeffrey Smith's book, and she defriended me on Facebook.
oh, okay.
He's now fighting cancer.
Okay, well,
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I feel bad about that, but it's
but what,
the
I
way
mean,
it is.
Yeah, I mean, if people don't want to look at the truth
Right.
for the sake of money,
Mhm.
I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I'm sorry for them.
I do. I feel sorry for him, but and he doesn't have to grow GMO corn.
Mm-hmm. Just
No.
use organic, just plain.
Or yeah,
I mean, you can buy organic seeds, can't you, that don't have any GMO in them?
right. And they don't coat them.
And there must be an organic pesticide that's not contaminating to everything. There must
Yeah.
be.
Well, the pesticides they have that are herbicides are usually burned down. That means a high acidic compound,
Okay.
and it will kill the upper part of the weed above ground, but it will not get to
the
roots.
root.
Yeah, so it will come back.
Oh,
But you don't really need, before insecticides and pesticides were developed, before the end of World War II,
okay.
when those things were developed and
Right.
put out for public use, they used tillage. They used,
Just get rid of the weeds.
yeah, you just go through the crops and you
I mean,
cut
the
them.
old-fashioned
It's
way.
the old-fashioned way, and it works.
I mean, they
Works
did
just
it
as
for
well.
how many hundreds of years
that's right.
before this?
Yeah,
Man's manipulation.
right. Well, it's our hubris. That's what the problem is. So anyhow, what's interesting is, and I'm going to show you this. When you do a graph, okay, you have an anticipated level of something
Right.
in a population,
right.
and they age adjust and they do all that kind of manipulation so that apples to apples, and it's all right.
Right.
But then they looked at the use of the herbicide each year.
Right. And it just keeps getting
And
higher.
these are the diseases. Before, they were pretty much right in here. But then, right after the introduction of GMO crops, this comes up. This one happens to be thyroid cancer.
Oh, wow.
That's thyroid cancer for you. This one here actually is on bladder cancer, urinary cancers.
Wow.
It's not perfect, but it is a trend.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's a pretty steep trend.
Yeah, there are 21 of these diseases she's traced to this.
Wow.
Hypertension is one of them.
Yeah.
What's this one here? This is hypertension, and this one down here is strokes and hemorrhage.
Wow.
Even that is increased.
Hmm.
Now, correlations are not causation. She said that. We know that. But there is a trend here that you have to look at.
Yeah.
And I think when IARC, the International Agency on Cancer,
Right.
with the WHO, said that they placed glyphosate into the category of probable human carcinogen, you begin to see part of why they're saying that. This is not, this has a lot to say. This is diabetes. This is what you would anticipate the trend is, but this is what correlates very, very equally to the glyphosate use in our country.
Is there autism and Alzheimer's?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
I mean, that's
on here too. Yeah. Parkinson's disease. I mean, just.
Because, I'm sure the effect is going to be different on different people.
Oh, it is. Yeah,
I
that's
mean,
why you can't.
Nature.
Yeah, and that's what the problem is with GMO foods. You can't. It's not an acute thing.
Right. It's
It's
a
with-
slow.
Where with the Shandanko tryptophan, that was so bizarre and so out of the ordinary that they could trace it back.
I wish they could do that scientifically to all this. I suppose eventually they will be able
Well,
to.
if one of the things they did, a family in Canada were eating off the regular diet, regular supermarket stuff, like the Safeway stuff.
Right.
And they measured their urine amounts of glyphosate and AMPA, which is a metabolite of glyphosate. And lo and behold, they were all very high.
Yeah.
This is a husband, wife, and 2 young children.
Right.
So they said, okay, what we're going to do is for a month, we want you to take all your food out and we're going to put in all organic food, which they did.
Yeah.
And then even after 1 week, they measured the urines of the children and the family, and it was cleaned out. They did not have a problem.
Wow.
See, we don't know what's
No,
happening
I
inside
know.
people with this glyphosate. But when you look at something like this,
Yeah.
you say, wait a minute, folks.
Right.
Yeah, there is a
we
problem
need to-
here. Yeah. Yeah. No, I think this is something people don't understand because we have been sold the bill of goods by the good PR people from Monsanto that, ladies and gentlemen, this stuff is so safe, we can even drink it and not have a problem. But what they didn't tell you, it wasn't a formula.
Yeah.
It
You know
wasn't-
what I'm curious? If Bill Gates, because I know he's all part of this, because he owns, I don't know, 500 and some thousand shares of Monsanto. I'm wondering if they eat organic or if they eat this food.
Well, what I understand, in St. Louis, the home of Monsanto, their cafeteria is organic.
Hypocritical. Oh, my goodness.
Yeah.
Wow.
I don't know for sure, but that's what I've been told.
Yeah.
And it seems to fit the pattern.
Yeah.
It does. And the other thing
Well, ultimately, I mean, this is a touchy subject, and some people are going to say, what are you saying, Cheryl? But the fact is that they are trying to depopulate the planet. Bill Gates in particular. So this is part of the plan as well as geoengineering. It's all intertwined. It's all intertwined.
the one thing I can say about GMOs is that they sold the goods to the people that we're going to feed the world. And Sarah, people in the other parts of the world are smarter than we are because they are refusing it.
Oh, absolutely.
They are refusing
Yeah.
the GMOs
Yeah.
because they're seeing what's happening to our populations. We're fat, we're sick, and what's happening is on the bell-shaped curve where it used to be in the middle where most people were, that shift has come back down to the left, leaving very few brilliant children being born. In fact, because of glyphosate and the birth defects and everything are going up, and the brain power of those who are born is, an autistic child doesn't have the same chance in the world as a.
No, of course not.
Yeah. And it's interesting because.
And again, it's gone up 10,000% in the last 6 years or so. Maybe the percentages have gone up a little bit.
Yeah, I'll see if I could find any.
Especially Alzheimer's.
Yes, yeah. Okay. I don't know what I
Humans are messing with nature.
yes, yes. I've got all kinds of notes here I took today after
Oh, yeah, no,
pushing
please.
my. Oh, it was when we first started. Oh, it was something about the glyphosate is a big part of this whole. Not only are the genetic manipulation, the seeds themselves being manipulated and destroyed, and our chances of having good quality food is being eroded in many ways. But glyphosate itself is being found in our food, of course, in our air, in our water, in our newborns. I'm not sure, as a species, we can continue with that kind of process going on continually from year to year to year, because the damage that it does to the children and to next generations. You get to the point, which in some places in the world now, there aren't any boys, for instance, being born.
Where is that?
There's some places in Russia.
Oh.
It's part of the endocrine disruption process that all pesticides and glyphosate in particular are doing. Then it
Why boys over girls?
Because it acts more like an estrogen.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Each of these endocrine disruptors do different things in the process. They will either mimic or they will take the place of, and estrogen, glyphosate actually acts like an estrogen.
Wow. That's why it's probably hard for women to lose weight.
Oh yeah.
Because you've got way too much estrogen in your body.
Right. And the more fat cells you have, the more fat you produce, because the fat is an organ. Body fat's an organ that is an endocrine organ, actually. So, it piles up.
Yeah, wow.
So, it's...
education, education.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
Oh my.
Well, we have so many brilliant people in this world.
Oh yeah.
Still, and one of those is Stephanie Seneff from MIT.
Oh, okay.
And Anthony Samzel. And they are the ones who actually diagnosed the pathways that's going on in our bodies, to say, because glyphosate was always sold as being benign.
Oh, okay.
Because
I mean, that
we
wouldn't disrupt your
would not
pathways.
disrupt our metabolic pathways,
Right.
because we didn't have the shikimate pathway, and that's one that plants have, and some bacteria and all that. What they weren't counting on is the fact that glyphosate is also an antibiotic, and it's a chelator of minerals. So you've got all those things working against you, and when you've got foods, not just GMO foods, but also wheat and oats and barley and rye, which are being desiccated in the fields with glyphosate, so they'll burn down and then they can harvest them. In the meantime, all these foods are saturated with glyphosate. So we're getting it, even if it is not a GMO, we're still getting it in the Safeway market if it's not organic. So we get all this glyphosate into our system. Well, what's happening is it's killing our gut bacteria.
Yeah. So can you be tested for the glyphosate?
Yep. They can test for glyphosate and AMPA, which is methyl phosphoric acid.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that's what it is.
Yeah.
Anyhow, that's one of the byproducts.
So you can ask your doctor to
Yeah.
that, or can you go somewhere, that a clinic of some sort
Well,
that will do it?
Doctors will say, why do you want that?
Yeah, right.
Right.
Of course.
But it's a good idea, actually.
Yeah.
So you can find out if indeed your body is contaminated, because it does stick around. They used to think it would pass through,
But it stays in the cells.
but it does stay in.
Like sugar.
Yeah. Yeah, we don't want that.
No.
Yeah. So what's happening is the rise of celiac disease and gluten intolerance
Oh, right.
have been on the rise. That's one of those other graphs that's in this.
Sure.
And that's because
That's the byproduct.
That's the byproduct of your gut bacteria being destroyed, and the bad bacteria don't seem to be as affected by glyphosate as the others, because they don't have the shikimate pathway.
So, yeah.
I like that word, shikimate.
I know it sounds Hebrew to me. Mashugana, crazy. This is crazy.
Yeah. But I'm telling you that Stephanie Seneff, S-E-N-E-F-F, was one of those brilliant. She actually, at MIT, she actually does work on voice recognition for.
Voice recognition.
Yeah, that's what she did for IT. But she is so bright that she said, there's a problem here, because she had some friends who had children who were having problems and all. And so she started investigating, started reading, and she knows her biochemistry like I wish I had an inkling of some of her smarts. But she's gone through and she's used some of the same graphing as did this other lady and researcher, and she's got it down. She figured out it has to do with something with problem pathways, and it has to do with our sulfur.
See, all
pathways.
this is, I know it's complicated.
Yeah.
You know, the whole
It
system is complicated, and I mean, I feel like I'm a little lost on
Well,
some
I am too. I'm trying to I'm trying to figure this out, because impaired sulfate supply to the tissues on a compound is glyphosate's toxicity to humans. I mean, but she's gone through and she got this all figured out in this paper, and I spent the last 24 hours trying to read these things, and it's amazing that
I'm wondering, is there something that you can take, ingest, or whatever that will block the glyphosate?
Eat organic.
Just eat organic.
That's all I can tell you. That the only way that I know, because you don't want it in your body at all.
Yeah.
And
the only way to secure that is to just eat certified organic food.
Right. That's the only way I know, because even anything in the marketplace today will have, if you read the ingredients, there'll be some canola oil, or there'll be some cottonseed oil, and there are amounts of glyphosate in there that are toxic enough to cause problems. And what the EPA's done, I think one of these papers I've seen, there's a list of amounts of glyphosate in certain foods, and I don't know where I found it, but I did see one. Yeah. But the allowed amounts on each of these foods have all been increased by the EPA. They've said it's okay. Which doesn't make sense, because they've never tested it. They've never done human testing, food studies. They've never done any of that. To just allow it because the growers are putting more of these toxins into the food supply. It doesn't make sense to me that they would allow it to happen without
except for the sake of money. But how are they making money? How are the EPA making money off this?
They're not, but the U.S. government is, When they sell something overseas,
Oh, okay.
that's
Well,
great.
I just heard recently that they're trying to sell this to China because they want to decrease the population in China.
Well,
The powers that be, that's,
I don't think the Chinese are going to take it because I think they know better now.
well,
They don't.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I would hope they would
Uh-huh.
now, but of course they're probably overpopulated anyway.
Yeah.
But still.
Well, I won't go that far or go there. All I can say is that I think this is a very dangerous technology that hasn't been tested
Not enough.
properly,
Right.
and that we need to watch ourselves in terms of what we eat, and every dollar you spend on organic is a healthcare dollar.
So you pay now or you pay later?
That's right. And I don't want
I
to have.
keep hearing, I keep
Yeah.
saying that too. You pay now or you pay later.
Yeah. And, the way to find out, the way to make sure that you are getting a good food supply is to grow your own,
Yeah, well, as
as
long as you can trust the soil.
Well, that's true, because what's happening is the soils are building up. The longer you use the glyphosate, the more it stays in the ground and the longer it stays there. Originally, they thought, I know at the IPM, we only required 4 days before and 4 days after for people, but that's not true.
And, getting to planting your own, I know firsthand about your garden and how you share your garden with multiple people in using organic. And do you test your soil?
We haven't, because we've been there for so many years.
So you
that-
know that it's
Yeah, we don't use
Yeah,
anything
it's-
on it at
yeah.
all.
Yeah.
And it's a joy actually to work in the garden.
I know, I've been there with you.
Yeah, because and those tomatoes. Oh, when unfortunately we go away in the summertime, so I miss the bulk when they first come in.
Yeah.
So the first thing I do when I get back is I go in and I just got to squish one right in my face practically.
Yeah. Oh.
So they're so good. I mean, the food just tastes so much better, and
Oh yeah.
that's what the promise is. The promise that was given to the U.S. to the population was, number one, we'll reduce the use of pesticides by using GMOs.
Right.
That we will, what was the other one? Oh, increase the yields, of course. We will feed the world. Yeah, and it'll save you money because you're only doing it, one time through. I mean, this is originally when they first introduced, like the corn, one time through with the herbicide, and they killed the weeds and the plants grew.
Yeah.
Well, the next time it was 2 passes through with the herbicide and the plants grew.
And then also,
and now,
sorry.
well, now they have to do it all the time, and they have to they're doubling up using dicamba and 2,4-D, which are very strong herbicides,
Yeah.
on top of the originals. And the foods that are produced there are super saturated with all these chemicals. The yields are less, the soils are being destroyed, and the nutritional value is zilch. Because you can't do that. We're destroying our soils.
Yeah.
And when you destroy the soils of a population,
You're destroying the population.
You are, yeah,
That's the bottom line.
yeah.
And I think there is a design to do that. Unfortunately, I hate to even say that. But the more I get educated on this, we need to,
Well, we got to wake
educate.
up. We got to
Yeah.
wake up and not allow this to continue.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And this is why we do a show like this and the other ones, just to keep talking about it and then put it into practice and stop buying GMO products.
If you don't buy it,
Because that's the only way that those whats are going to feel
Yeah.
it is through the pocketbook.
that's right.
That's the only way they're going to get it. It's infuriating to me.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. But we're here to educate.
Let's hope so. Let's hope that people listen, because we've got to reduce the amount of glyphosate that we use totally. In your yard, anywhere, don't use it at all.
So, and that's Roundup.
That's Roundup.
And what else?
Oh, there are all kinds of different
Oh, gosh.
formulations.
So
of it.
now on these products, does it say
It says glyphosate.
glyphosate?
Yeah,
Okay,
as
it
the
does.
active ingredient.
Okay, so it does say that, and we
Yes.
okay.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't use any of that stuff, so at this
Yeah.
point in my life, and even if I were, I mean, if I had a bigger, garden, if I could get a garden, which I can, this year.
Oh, good.
Yeah, but I mean, we just have to educate, and bring this to everybody's consciousness. So,
Well, if you see a neighbor using glyphosate or any chemical, actually,
yeah,
I think it's wise if you talk to them and say, I've heard some things about these chemicals that really make me concerned, and I hope that you I would like to help you if there's anything I can do to educate you or show you what I've learned.
yeah.
People are so touchy about it, and yet
Yeah.
we've got to step out and say,
Yes.
these things are not working and they're
No.
not safe,
No.
and for everyone's sake.
And of course, we live in more of a progressive bubble or society here in Marin, but we also can be leaders and teachers.
Yeah. Well, see, part of the problem is too that MMWD did a test on glyphosate up on the watershed.
Oh,
They wanted to see how long it lasted.
yeah.
Well, the test was only for 90 days because that was the contractual period. Because the manufacturer says when it's dry, it's safe. Well, what happened is they went back and they tested. At the end of 90 days, it was still at full strength in the soil. So what happened?
Where did they test this?
It's up on the watershed,
Sure.
Mount Tam.
Oh, okay.
It's on Mount Tam, yeah.
Okay.
That's the soils like that we have here.
Right. Wow.
Yeah. So it lasts forever and ever, it seems like. And we don't know how much longer that was going to be at 100% strength, full strength. So when your neighbor is spraying it, and it sprays it on the sidewalk cracks, which is
Oh, yeah, and then if
that-
it runs, if it rains or the water, it runs.
it attaches to soil particles,
Yeah,
and it adheres very strongly to those soil
like
particles.
glue.
Like glue. And you walk on it,
Oh,
it adheres to your shoes.
oh no.
And you walk
It's
in your
that
house.
Powerful.
And you walk in your house with your shoes, and there it is. And there's no sun, no water to degrade it, because you need
So
the
sun and water
and
does
the bacterial action will degrade it.
Oh, okay. Well, that's
Yeah.
good to know.
Yeah, but in your house, the dust,
Yeah,
you don't have the opportunity, so you'll
No.
be breathing in dust from that.
Oh,
Yeah, especially if you have carpets that.
this is depressing.
Sorry.
No,
But
but it's educational. I mean,
Yeah.
we need to know this
Yeah.
and take it seriously.
Yes, because that's part of the contamination pathway for people. Besides the food, just walking through places where somebody has already sprayed. Yeah. So if we're aware,
Yeah.
For instance, you take your shoes off when you walk in the house.
Oh, sure.
I'm not good at that, but
I kind of have to now because my place is so small. But
yeah.
wow.
So if we can be aware and talk with your neighbors, it's really
Yeah.
important.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, maybe get yourself tested for glyphosate, but eat organic.
Yeah.
Because every dollar you spend on organic is a healthcare dollar that goes to your health.
Yeah. Pay now or you pay later. That's all there is to it.
Yeah.
Do you think, one question is, do you think that, I know human beings, each is unique, even though generally we're the same, but we're unique.
Sure.
I'm wondering if one human being would have more of a resistance to
Oh, sure.
than the other ones?
Well, that's the reason why people get a different disease or manifestation from the same triggers.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I think was it Leeuwenhoek or one of them when they were saying it was the bacteria that causes the disease, and said no, it's the environment or the terrain was the term he used. So our terrain is all different.
Yeah. Yeah.
And how we respond
Yeah.
is very different. So, and if your terrain has been contaminated
Yeah.
with glyphosate, when that virus comes by or the flu
Then
comes through, and
it'll hit you.
it'll hit you differently. And
Yeah.
so,
Oh,
yes.
we just need to wake up. And is there anything else that you can do to stop this? To me, it's insanity, but just stop this.
Well, we have our little pesticide free zone signs.
Yes, we do. Yes.
It's a way to show your neighbors how you feel about it, and
Yeah.
you don't have to say anything. But oftentimes, the whole idea of the sign was to make people think.
Yeah, and it's a cute little ladybug.
Ladybug and honeybee now.
And honeybee, yeah.
Because the honeybees are affected. This is interesting because the honeybees, what happens to them, they go onto a plant that's been sprayed or something, and they're taking that pollen and back to the hive,
Right.
which they feed their new
and
their larvae.
contaminated.
And when you feed the larva contaminated food, then you've got a weakened larva.
Yeah.
So this all plays into the colony collapse. When you've got so many pesticides being used out there, and it doesn't kill them right away. It's not like they were sprayed with the pesticide, but it weakens the colony.
Yeah.
Because they bring the pollen back, they feed their next generation that contaminated pollen, and
I mean, for survival, we need bees.
right.
I mean, that's just a law of nature. But what? I mean, I understand that the bee population have just decreased so much that it is a serious concern.
Yeah, but one thing here in Marin, in our little bubble, we do splits of the bees of our own hives, which is one way of cloning.
What do you mean?
Oh, what we do is we take out brood sections with the worker bees,
Oh, okay.
and we put them into another colony
Right.
to create a new colony,
Okay.
so that they will make. Hopefully, we get new laid larvae or eggs actually, so that the new bees will realize they don't have a queen, and that they will make a new queen cell, and create.
They do that themselves.
They do it themselves, yeah.
It's fascinating too.
So what we do is we do the split, and that way we have doubled our hives without using any chemicals and without any treatments. Even the tick, the little guy that is on the bees, I can't think of the name of him right now, that has been blamed on all this bee collapse and everything, doesn't really bother them, because they're a stronger hive for not being treated with chemicals.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Wow.
So in Marin County, we're raising our own queens here in the county. We have some really great beekeepers.
You have some bees
Yeah,
colonies in your own home there.
Well, we have the one hive. We're gonna,
just one. Okay.
Yeah, we're going to split and make a new hive.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, later in the spring.
Yeah.
And we're doing our own here in Marin County. The beekeepers that are the organic ones are working very hard to develop strong hives and bees that are not contaminated in any ways. So, yeah, I think the hobbyist keepers are where we have to go, because it's the ones who transport the millions of bees and to the almond orchards where they spray, and to the other places where they've, the other orchard areas that they spray. Those bees are so traumatized.
I am really surprised that the farmers are not more educated on this and don't take action against all of this.
It has to do with what has happened in the agricultural colleges and universities. The land-grant colleges that were like the K-States and the Cal States and the University, they all had the mandate. Well, they have been bought off. And if you read U.S. Right to Know's work on this, they have had Freedom of Information requests in, and they pulled back the information that these universities have been bought off and their professors have been bought off because they build big buildings and they give billions of dollars to educate them and the new farmers in agricultural techniques that benefit them in the long run. And it's a perversion of what those schools were supposed to be. Cornell, for instance, did the same thing. Cornell was a big agricultural university, and when they got their freedom of information, the people who were there to teach genetically about GMOs were nothing but cheerleaders for Monsanto, and they were getting paid by Monsanto to be that. So
I just can't
insidious.
imagine that if you really know the background and know the history of what they're doing, how you would have sleep at night and have conscience to do that.
Yeah. Well, though our time's almost gone.
I know we have.
But what I want to say is I am not against genetic modification.
Okay.
What I'm against is the rampant release into the environment without testing of all of these organisms are out there now. Dr. Michael Antonia from London School, King's College, London, who works on genetics and how he is correcting problems. They don't do anything until they really tested it out and tested it and tested it and tested it. And this is exciting. This is brilliant. This is amazing stuff they're doing.
Yeah.
But you do not release into the environment without having some kind of knowledge of what it's doing to the people around it and the environment.
Getting away with this for so long.
And they've gotten away with it because of political decisions and the money they have. And they need to be stopped.
Yeah.
No, sorry.
No. I mean, that's what this is about. The truth.
Yes.
The truth has to come out eventually, and it might as well come out now because our humanity is suffering. It's suffering big time.
Thank you for letting me vent.
Oh, I'm glad. Thank you so much for coming and being here and sharing all your knowledge. I mean, not all, because I know you have a plethora of other, more, and we could probably do another show on this. But thank you so much, Ginger.
Thank you.
I appreciate it. We appreciate it. I'll leave you with this, and as a reminder for all of us, never give up, and even when you think things are impossible or look impossible, especially with the events that are happening and unfolding in our world here and globally and in our USA, be grateful. And be grateful for your freedom of choice, freedom to learn, to earn, and discern. Eat healthy. Good nutrition feeds the mind and your body temple. Feed your spirituality with meditation and prayer. Love yourself unconditionally. Stop criticizing. Stop judging. Forgive yourself and others. Stop allowing others to dominate the way you feel and think about yourself. Be compassionate. with yourself first. Share your abundance and wealth with others in whatever form that may be. When fear knocks, let faith answer the door. We need love, unconditional love, more than ever now for what is unfolding in our government and society. Remember the 4 Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz. Be impeccable with your word. Don't take anything personally. Don't make assumptions, and always do your best. Wealth is the ability to fully experience life by Henry David Thoreau. Thank you, Marin TV, for facilitating our show, and especially to my crew, Eric, Brad, and Ginger. If you like our show, let us know on #MarinTV and on our Facebook page. Please support and become a member of Marin TV. Bye for now, until the next time.